What's good, math family? In today's review, we're going to break down questions 1 through 24 of the 2025 August Algebra 1 Regents exam. Let's get started. As we start off with problem number 1, we should already know that this is the difference of squares. Because when we look at 100x squared, we know its square root is just 10x. And when we look at 16, we know the square root was just 4. And when we deal with the difference of squares, we know that we're going to have the same binomial expression with the opposite signs. So when we look at our answer choices after breaking this down, our answer choice is going to be number 3. Just remember the signs have to be opposite so that that middle term could cancel out and we're only left with the x squared term and the constant. Problem number 2 tells us that Josie has $2.30 in dimes and quarters, and it tells us that she has 2 more dimes than she has quarters. And they want us to determine the correct equation to determine the amount of quarters she has. So let's say we approach this from a elimination standpoint. Equation number 1 is not going to work because we have to separate the dimes and quarters. So that means 0.25 and 0.10. Combining it to 0.35 is not going to let us know the amount of dimes versus quarters. Now, when we look at the second answer choice, the reason why this is wrong is because the x plus 2 for the 2 more dimes than she has quarters, right? This is the opposite. They're saying that she has 2 more quarters in comparison to dimes. So that's wrong. Now let's say we go over to answer choice 4. We should already know this is wrong because of x minus 2. If she has 2 more, that means we're going to add. So the correct answer choice is going to be 3 because we know she has a certain amount of quarters, which is x, and then the amount of dimes she has is going to be whatever x is plus 2 as a final answer. Problem number 3, they give us a function and we're going to have to evaluate it. So they give us the g of x function is equal to negative 2x squared plus 16. So if we substitute negative 3 into this function for x, what is our answer going to be? And just remember, we're going to do order of operations. I've seen students multiply 2 and 3 and then square it, but that will be wrong. So after we square 3, we're going to get negative 2 times positive 9 plus 16, meaning we'll have negative 18 plus 16. When we simplify this, we know that g of negative 3 is going to be equal to negative 2. So the correct answer is going to be answer choice number 2. So now we're dealing with a quadratic function and they want us to determine the zeros. And there's only one reason why students get this wrong. So we're going to go in and we're factoring. We know we want the 2 factors to multiply to give us 20, add to give us 8. So let's say we use x minus 10 times x plus 2. When we multiply, we're going to get the negative 20. When we add, we'll get the negative 8. So now, sometimes students will go ahead and look at the signs and they'll say, okay, our answer choice is going to be number 3. But family, this is wrong. We have to make sure that we use the zero product property. And all that's saying is that we set the factors equal to 0. So x is not equal to negative 10. It's actually equal to positive 10. And x plus 2, when we do the same thing, set it equal to 0, we're going to get x is equal to negative 2. So the actual answer is going to be answer choice number 2, where we have a positive 10 and a negative 2. So please be mindful and make sure you set it equal to 0, especially when they ask you for the actual zeros. Question number 5 wants us to determine which one of these ordered pairs is going to lie on the graph of the equation they give us. And what we're trying to do with this question is just get a true statement where the left side of the equation equals to the right. And we're going to have to substitute. So I'm going to just start off with answer choice number 1. Negative 2, 15.5. So we're saying that 15.5 is equal to 3 times negative 2 squared minus 1 over 4 times negative 2 plus 3. So let's just simplify this. So we're going to get 3 times 4 plus 2 over 4 plus 3. Now when we simplify, this is going to be 12 plus 1 over 2 plus 3. And let's just bring down this 15.5 for the video's sake, right? So now we're saying 15.5 is equal to 15 plus 1.5. When we simplify 1.5 and add it to 15, we're going to get 15.5. So it looks like we were lucky and the answer choice is going to be number 1. But like I said, when you have this type of problem, we're trying to figure out which one of the ordered pairs is going to give us a true statement when we plug it in. In problem number 6, they give us a function f of x is equal to x squared and a g of x function 8x minus 15. And they want us to determine what value of x will make these two functions equal to each other. So what is this actually saying? So they're saying we have a parabola and a linear equation, and when we graph it, what x values are going to make the functions equal to each other, aka what x values will they intersect at? So what we want to do here is use substitution, right? Remember that g of x and f of x are the same thing as y. So if we solve both equations for y, we can now take what's on the opposite side, right? X squared, and set it equal to each other is equal to 8x minus 15. Now I'm going to subtract 8x and add 15 onto the other side. So my quadratic function is x squared minus 8x plus 15 is equal to 0. And now what we want to do is just factor like a regular quadratic function. So when I look at this, looks like it's going to be x minus 5 times x minus 3. This is going to give us the positive 15 when we multiply, negative 8 when we add. So now once I set this equal to 0, x minus 5 is equal to 0, x is equal to 5. And when we do the same thing with our second factor, x is equal to 3. So these are the two x's where the functions are going to be equal to each other and intersect. So our answer is going to be number 3. Problem number 7 states, which trinomial is written in standard form and has a constant term of 5? So if we just start off with the constant term of 5, right? Here goes the constants for all these problems. So based off that one detail, answer choice 1 and 3 are gone. Now with standard form, that means that the exponents are in order from greatest to least. When we look at our last two answer choices, only answer choice 4 has the exponents from greatest to least. So just remember the difference in standard form, degree of a polynomial, and identifying the constant, and it will definitely make these type of problems very simple and easy to answer. So problem number 8 gives us equation steps that a student took, and they want us to determine the property of equality that they used. So we went from x squared plus 6x is equal to negative 8, and then now we have x squared plus 6x plus 8 is equal to 0. So the only thing that changed was the 8 being on the right hand side of the equation to the left. So if it was a negative 8, to get the right side to 0 means I had to add it, and then I had to add it on the other side. So our answer is going to be the addition property of equality. Now, before we go to the next problem, something that I want you guys to understand. Let's say we had something like this. And then let's say in the next step, we had this. This would not be the subtraction property of equality. This would be simplifying or combining like terms. When we use the properties of equality, for it to be addition or subtraction, that means we have to apply it to both sides of the equation. Please remember this important concept because they will test you on it. Problem number 9 gives us 4 tables of inputs and outputs of different functions, and they want us to determine which one is a linear function. And we have to remember that linear functions are going to have a consistent or a constant change in the y. So when we look at our graphs, right, for the first one, f of x, I could tell that this one is probably going to be quadratic because when I look at this 1, 3, right, that's probably the vertex, and then 0 and 2 share the same y value, and then negative 1 and 3. So I would say that this is probably a quadratic function. When I look at the second g of x function, I notice that none of my y values are negative. So off rip, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is probably an absolute value function. Then when I get over to the third one, Once I see the multiplying and doubling, right, like it looks like the power of 2, right? I know this is going to be exponential, right? And we're talking about multiplication, right? We have 2 to the 0 power, which is 1, 2 to the first power, which is 2, 2 to the second power, which is 4. And it probably has something where there's a negative sign on the outside so that we get the negative. But then when I look at the last one, this one is probably going to be the answer, because when I look at the difference in y's, right, all of these are going to have a consistent change of adding 4. So if we identify the linear function is going to be the j of x function. And this is how you could kind of use small details to kind of eliminate your answers and get to the right one. So we have a special case with a quadratic function where we just have the a and the b term. There's no constant. And they want us to determine the solution set. So the first thing we're going to want to do is set this equal to 0. So after we subtract 24x, we have 3x squared minus 24x is equal to 0. At this point right now, family, all we could do is take out a GCF of 3x. And what we're left with is x minus 8 is equal to 0. So I set my factors equal to 0. 3x is equal to 0. Once I divide by 3, x is equal to 0. That's my first answer choice. Then when we do x minus 8 is equal to 0, we know the second answer choice is going to be x is equal to positive 8. So the answer choice is 2. Now, sometimes when we use a GCF, when we only pull out a number, let's say x wasn't involved. So we had 3 times x minus 8 is equal to 0. When we say 3 is equal to 0, we have to toss that out. But when there's a variable attached to it, this is why x is equal to 0. And we just wanted to touch on this so that you guys understand the difference between tossing out your answer and keeping it when 0 is involved. Problem number 11 gives us a table on the radioactivity level of a substance after a given amount of time in seconds. And they want us to determine the interval of the radioactive level when t is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 3. And just remember that these are ordered pairs. So we're talking about the ordered pair 110, and we're talking about the ordered pair 3, 2.5. And we're going to use the slope formula to find the average rate of change. So the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to put 2.5 minus 10 all over 3 minus 1. This is going to give me a negative 7.5 over 2. And once we simplify, the average rate of change is going to be negative 3.75. So our answer choice is going to be answer choice number 2. Problem number 13 states that the function f of x is equal to x squared, and it wants to determine which function will shift f of x to the left 3 units. So if we remember transformation of functions, the equation is going to be f of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. And we have to remember that a just represents the vertical stretch and compression, h represents the horizontal shift left or right, and then k represents the vertical shift up and down. So if we have a shift to the left, that means our shift is going to be inside the parentheses. So that means answer choice 1, answer choice 2 are gone because these are going to be vertical shifts. Now, if we want to shift to the left 3 units, remember that when we set this equal to 0, answer choice number 3 is going to be x is equal to 3, meaning a shift to the right 3. And then x plus 3, when we set that equal to 0, is going to be x is equal to negative 3. So the answer choice here is going to be answer choice number 4. Problem number 14 states a class of 20 students was surveyed to determine the number of pets each student owned. The data are represented in the dot plot below, and they want us to determine which statement is correct. And the statements are referring to the mean, median, and mode. So let's just write that out. So we have mean, we have median, and then we have the mode. So the mode is typically the easiest to identify because it's the answer that pops up the most frequent. And in this case, the most frequent number of pets is going to be 2. Now, when we get over to the median, we're trying to find that middle number. So we're going to come in here and we're going to cross off these dots, trying to figure out what is our middle number. And when we do that and we continue, let's see what we get. So our median is going to be 2 plus 2 divided by 2, which is just 2. Now, when it comes to the mode, just remember that they are talking about the number of pets, right? So when we look at 0, they're saying that, hey, we have one student that has 0 amount of pets. So the amount of pets from there is 0. Then when we go to number 1, we have 4 students that have 1 pet. So we're going to add 4. Then when we get over to 2, we have 6 students who have at least 2 pets. So that's going to be 12 pets, right? And then when we continue the process for 3, this is also going to be 12 because we have 4 dots and we multiply, right? Well, the number of pets for 4, we have 3. So 4 times 3 is also going to be 12. Then for the last one, the number of students that have 5 pets is 2 students. So that means we add 10. Now, once we add all of this up, we are going to get 50. And just remember, this is all over the amount of students. So 50 over 20 is going to represent our mean. And when we look at this, right, our answer choices, the mean and the median are the same. That is incorrect. The median and the mode are the same. Okay, that is correct. So this could possibly be our answer. But let's just look at the other ones. The mean and the mode are the same. That's absolutely incorrect. And the last one, we know all 3 of them are not the same. In problem number 15, they give us a absolute value function and they want us to determine the range. And if we understand the equation for transformations of absolute value functions, right, it's going to look very similar to the quadratic one. So now when we look at this here, family, what we have to be mindful of is that K is that vertical shift. So if we shift this down 5 units and it opens up, our answer is going to be number 1. Y is greater than or equal to -5. Now let's say we kind of drew out this diagram so you guys get a visual representation. Here goes the parent function. F of x is equal to the absolute value of x. That's the regular v where the vertex is at 0, 0. Based off this transformation, it's telling us to go to the left 2, down 5. So my vertex is -2, -5. So let's just say that's somewhere right here. Once we draw a line, right, and they ask us for the range, so we're talking about the y values, we know that if this opens up, the smallest y value is going to be at -5. So this is why the range is y is greater than or equal to -5. Problem number 16 states which equation is always correct? And we're specifically talking about exponent rules. So in answer choice number 1, when we look at this, we have to be mindful that when we're multiplying exponents with the same base, we add. So this is wrong because it should look something like this: a to the 3 plus x power. Now when we get over to answer choice number 2, a to the 4th power, and we're raising it to the x power, this is the power of a power rule, meaning we're going to take a to the 4th and multiply our exponents. So we should get something like a to the 4x. So these two exponent rules for 1 and 2 have been flipped. Now when we get over to answer choice number 3, if we had the base of AB and we're taking it to a power, we would have to take both of those different bases to the same power. So a to the x, b to the x. So this would be our correct answer. Because when we look at answer choice 4, there is no exponent rule for this, and this is also going to be incorrectly applied. They give us the formula for the area of a trapezoid, and they want us to rearrange the equation and solve for h. So after we write this out, the first thing I'm going to tell you guys to do is let's get rid of our fraction. So we multiply both sides by 2. So now we have 2a is equal to h times b to the 1 plus b to the 2. Now remember, we want to get h by itself. So right now we're multiplying or distributing h to what's inside the parentheses. So working backwards, we're just going to divide by what's inside of the parentheses. So when we think about this, our final answer should be h is equal to 2 times a, all divided by b1 plus b2. So that means when we look at our answer choices, answer choice number 1 is going to be the correct representation when we rearrange this formula and solve for h. In problem 18, they give us 3 functions, and they want us to determine which of these functions have the same y-intercept. So the table one is very simple. When x is 0, y-intercept is -3. So let's just write that out. So y-intercept is equal to -3. Now let's say we did the f of x function. So we're going to switch to green. So we're saying f of 0 is equal to the opposite of 0 plus 2 plus 7. So once we take this out of the absolute value brackets, we have 2, and then we got to bring that negative down. So this is the opposite of 2 plus 7, or -2 plus 7. So we know f of 0 is going to be equal to +5. Now let's say we switch back to red and we do the g of x function, right? So we say g of 0 is equal to 0 minus 3 squared minus 4. So we know 0 minus 3 is just -3. -3 squared is going to give me a +9. When I bring down that minus 4, g of 0 is going to be equal to 5. So it looks like the g of x function and the f of x function are both going to share the same y-intercept. So our answer choice is going to be number 1 for this problem. So we're dealing with polynomial expressions, and they want us to determine the sum of x plus 7 squared and x minus 3 squared. So remember, that means we're going to FOIL. So we're going to have x plus 7 times x plus 7, and then we're going to add this to x minus 3 times x minus 3. But instead of doing this the long way where we FOIL and write it out, let's use this concept of a plus b squared. And this just makes it easier for us and faster for us to solve the problem. So what does this mean? That means that when we expand the binomial, whatever the numbers are, it's going to take the format a squared plus 2 times ab plus b squared. And remember, inside the parentheses, here's our a, here's our b, here's our a, here's our b. So when we look at it, right, x plus 7, let's put this right here. So x squared is just x squared. When we go to the middle term, 2 times AB. So AB is 7x. When we multiply that by 2, 14x. And then 7 squared, or B squared, same thing, is just 49. Now we do the same thing to our second expression, right? So x squared is just x squared. When we do the 2AB, that's x times -3, that's -3, -3 times 2, -6x, and then -3 squared is just +9. Now all we need to do is add. So once we combine this, x squared and x squared, 2x squared. 14x minus 6x, +8x. And then 49 plus 9 is going to give me a +58. So when we look at our answer choices, answer choice number 3 is going to be the sum of these two binomial expressions once we expand and add together. So we're dealing with radical expressions, and they want us to determine the product of 2 radical 10 and 3 radical 2. So we know we're multiplying, and for us to multiply radicals, they have to have the same root. So because these have the same root, we're good to go. So we multiply 2 and 3 to get 6, and then radical 10 and radical 2 to get radical 20. Now remember, we have to simplify. So we're going to break this down to 6 times radical 4 times radical 5. We do have a perfect square, right? When it comes out, this is going to turn into 6 times the square root of 4, which is 2 times radical 5. So that means my answer is going to be 12 radical 5 once we multiply these two radical expressions and then simplify. So answer choice number 1 is the correct answer. Problem number 21 can be a very simple problem, but you have to take your time and really understand the statement. It says when 6x to the third minus 2x plus 8 is subtracted from 5x to the third plus 3x minus 4, the result is. So I want you guys to kind of remember that these are treated as a single expression. And what they really want us to do is to take this first expression and subtract it from the second one. So when we set this up, we should have 5x to the third plus 3x minus 4. And then we are going to subtract that second expression, which is 6x to the third minus 2x plus 8. Now, a key concept here is understanding that this negative is going to apply to each and every one of the terms in the parentheses. So when I go to my next step, we're going to drop the parentheses for the first expression because it stays the same. And then the second expression, all the signs are now going to switch. So positive 6x3 inside the parentheses turns to negative 6x to the third. Negative 2x turns to positive 2x. And positive 8 turns into negative 8. Now, once I combine 5x to the third minus 6x to the third, will give me negative x to the third. Let's eliminate answer choice 1, answer choice 2. Now, 3x plus 2x, positive 5x. That means our answer is going to be answer choice number 3. But just for the video's sake, we'll finish this off. Negative 4 minus 8, this is going to give us a negative 12. So when you have these type of problems, please understand how to apply that negative to the second trinomial and how it affects its sign. In our next example, they give us 3 relations and they want us to determine which of these relations represent a function. So if we remember functions, right? For every unique x, there should be a unique y. So when we think about this and we look at our answer choices, such as 1, none of these x values repeat, so we don't have anything to worry about. It fits that description. Every unique x has a unique y. Now when we look at the second one, right? None of our x's repeat and each one of them only have one output. So here goes another function. Now when we look at the third graph, just remember that when we're dealing with open circles and closed circles, right? You have to remember what this represents. So let's say when x is 0, right? Because this is the x value. This first point right here, that answer is not included. But the second one is included. So when we think about when x is 0, it only has one output for 0. Now, if we had a closed circle down here, right, and let's just erase these circles. If we had a closed circle down here, what would happen now, is that instead of one output for 0, we would have 2. So when we look at this table, because of the way the circles are constructed with open versus closed, all 3 of these are going to be considered a function. So the answer choice here will be answer choice number 4. And like I said, please make sure you review the difference with open and closed circles and how that impacts whether the answer is included or not. So problem number 23 states the method of substitution was used to solve the systems of equations below, and they want us to determine the correct step. So if you remember substitution, that means we want to isolate one variable by itself. So when I think about this, answer choice 3 and 4 are incorrect because this would probably be substitution where you multiply the whole entire equation by a certain value so that you could cancel out an x or a y. Now, when we look at this, right, it's obvious that they manipulated the second equation. So we're going to solve for x. If we were solving for x, all we need to do is add y. So we'd get x is equal to y minus 1, which we have right here. So this looks like it would be probably the correct answer. But let's still look at our other answer choice and why it may be incorrect. So when we look at our equation, right, x minus y is equal to negative 1. If we solve for y, that means we subtract x. So we have negative y is equal to negative x minus 1. We know that when we solve for variables and they're by themselves, it can't be negative. So we divide the entire equation by negative 1 and change the signs. We get y, positive y is equal to positive x plus 1. And in this, they have a minus 1, which is the wrong sign. So they did not correctly substitute or solve the equation for the y variable, and this is why it's incorrect. Moving on to the last problem of this video, math family, and if this video has been helpful, we're going to ask that you subscribe to the channel, smash the like button for us, and leave comments down below if you had questions on this video or if there was questions you'd like to see in our channel in the future. So we're dealing with a problem where we're converting units. Problem says that in 2009, Usain Bolt, a sprinter from Jamaica, sets the world record in the 100-meter dash with a time of 9.58 seconds. His approximate speed in kilometers per hour can be found using which conversion? So the first thing that we need to do is just understand what units are we currently in and what units are we trying to get to. So we're talking about meters per second, and we're trying to go to kilometers per hour. So when we look at our answer choices, right, I'm automatically going to eliminate answer choice 1 because this is seconds per meters. Now, when I look at answer choice number 2, remember we want the units to cancel out where we're only left with kilometers per hour. That's kind of the basis of this problem. So when we go to answer choice number 2, right, I noticed that minutes are never going to cancel out. So just based off that, I know this is wrong. Now answer choice number 3. When I think about this, right, seconds never cancel out. And we have to cancel out seconds so that we could get to hours. So this is automatically wrong. So just by process of elimination, it looks like answer choice 4 is going to be the correct answer. But let's just double check so we can see what this should look like. So when we look at meters, that cancels out. When we look at seconds, that cancels out. And then when we look at minutes, that cancels out. And all we're left with is going to be kilometers per hour, which is the unit that we want. Really hope that this review for the Algebra 1 Regents exam 2025 was helpful for you, family. If it was, don't forget to smash the like button for us. Subscribe to the channel and leave comments down below if you had questions on this video or if there's topics you guys would like to see on our channel in the future. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch and support Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters.